Hello everyone and welcome back to NPStation. So today we're going to be creating a little project in Python using Visual Studio Code. The basis of this project will be for us to be able to calculate the area of a given triangle and a given rectangle. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Of things we know. I'm going to create a new file here in Visual Studio and I'm going to call it area.py. So make sure to put that .py at the end of your file, which will tell the computer that this is a Python file. You're using the Python language. Okay, so let's go ahead and start coding. So first, we're going to start off by creating a class called Polygon. And in here, so just put in a colon there. So inside, we're going to have our init function with our self and n variables like that. And inside the init function, we're going to create two variables. So we'll have a self.numberofsides variable, and we're going to set that to the variable n. We're going to have a self.sides variable as well. And here, we'll set that equal to, in square brackets, 0 for I in range, and we'll have the n variable. So close those square brackets. And that's all for the init function. Next, let's create another function here, which will be called input sides. So we'll have self in the parentheses. Here we're going to create the, using the self.sides variable that we created before, we're going to set this equal to some more data. So what we're going to do is actually have a float value here, a float data type, and then make sure to open parentheses and type in input. So here we typed in input because we want to ask the user to enter some input into the computer. So here, put in some quotations and we're going to ask the user to enter sides and close the quotation. We're going to add a string variable with, in parentheses, I plus 1, close the parentheses, add another addition symbol, and a colon in quotation marks. Close both sets of the parentheses here, put in a space and say for I in range, and in parentheses self dot number of sides. So we'll use that variable we created before. That was a long line of code, but all that's basically is going to do is it's for what the computer is going to print out as soon as the user runs the program. So it's going to ask the user to enter the first side of the specific shape. So it's going to be either the triangle or the rectangle. Okay, so that's all actually for the input sides function. Now let's create another function called display sides. So I'll just shorten it a little bit, and we're going to have self in here. And in this function, we're going to start off by saying for I in range with self dot number of sides, that variable we created, colon, we're going to use a print function here. So this is going to say side, make sure to give a space there, and we're going to add I plus 1, comma, quotation marks. Here again, put in a colon with two spaces on before and after the colon, comma, self dot sides. Okay, so, and then don't forget to put in the I in the square brackets. So what this is going to do is it's actually going to display the sides to the user once they've entered all of the given sides. So let's say they're entering 3 sides for the triangle. Once they've entered the 3 sides, it's going to print out all of those sides again, just so it's nice and neat and a little organized for the user to see what they have typed out and what they've inputted into the computer. Okay, and guess what? We have actually completed the Polygon class. So we're going to be creating 3 classes for this project. So let's go ahead and move on to the second one, which is going to be called Triangle. Now something cool is that we can actually use other classes that we've created in different classes. So you can see here I've creating this triangle class, but I'm using the polygon class that we've created before. So it's super cool. Now we can create our init function with self in the parentheses. And here we're going to create a super class with the init. And in parentheses here, go ahead and put the number 3. So since we all know that a triangle has 3 sides, we're going to have to ask the user to enter 3 different sides. So now in another function, let's call this function find area, since that's what we want to do now. So we need to tell the computer exactly how to calculate the area of the triangle. So since we know there are 3 sides, so let's go ahead and create 3 different variables, A, B, C, and we can set them all equal to sides. Click enter, and the next line, S is equal to, so we create this S variable, and here we're going to say A plus B plus C. We're going to divide all of that by 2. Next, let's create an area variable. Here this is a little bit long, and there's a tiny thing, so make sure you type it out exactly because you don't want your equation to be incorrect. So S times, and in parentheses we're going to say S minus A, and then we're going to multiply that by S minus B. We're going to multiply that by S minus C. And then we're still not done. Put in 2 more of those asterisks and then 0.5. Okay, so now, oh, see, look, I made a mistake. So after the S minus C, make sure there's 2 parentheses because you want to close this whole set of parentheses there, and this will be outside the 0.5. Okay, so what these 2 lines of code are doing is basically writing down that equation to tell the computer how to calculate the area of that triangle. And of course, line 17 is going to help us with that as we're setting all those variables. So now the next thing, since we have written down the equation, we just need to print that out to the user what the area of the triangle is going to be. So here we've created that area variable before, so we're going to use that in the print function, because whatever the area is the computer calculates from this equation, it will be stored in that area variable. So that's why we're just going to use it right there in that print function. Okay, awesome. Now 2 out of 3 classes are complete. Let's move on to the last and final one, which is going to be called quad. So quad for quadrilateral. Again, we're going to use that polygon class in here since we need these 2 functions. So that's why we're kind of importing it into there. So here, let's go ahead and create our init function. So similar to what we've done before, same with our super class. And something different here is we're going to have 4 in the parentheses since we need 4 sides for a quadrilateral. We're going to use that find area function for our quadrilateral as well. And in here, so since here we had A, B, C, we're going to be needing 4 variables now. So A, B, C, D, and let's set that equal to self.sides. Alright, something different that we're going to be adding here is we need an if condition. So if A is equal to B and equal to C and equal to D, so if all of those 4 variables, if all of the 4 sides that the user has inputted into the computer, if they're all equal to each other, then what we're going to do is use that area variable that we created and set that equal to A times 4. So that's actually our equation on calculating the area if all 4 sides are equal. Then we're going to put in that print function. So if all 4 sides are equal, that means that that shape is a square. So we're going to say area of square and put in the area variable. Okay, now we still need to put in that elif here. So elif, let's say all 4 sides that the user enters are not equal to each other, but let's say side A is equal to side C and side B is equal to side D. So if that is true, then we're going to use that area variable and set that to A times B. So this and keyword right here, actually, I'm just going to explain what that does. So it makes sure that that both of these conditions are true. And only if both are true, then it will move on to the next line of code and actually print what we want it to print out to the user. So there is another keyword, which is or. So if this was an or instead of and, then it would be if one or the other of these conditions are true, then it would still go on to the next line of code. So let's say that A was equal to C, but even if B wasn't equal to D, it would still go on to the next line of code. But that's not what we want here, because that would be inaccurate. So that's why we're going to put the AND keyword. Now, let's go ahead and put in a print function. And here, if the elif condition is true, then we know that it is a rectangle. So let's go ahead and say area rectangle. And let's go ahead and put in area variable right there. And we are done with our 3 classes. But we're still not done with coding. So let's go ahead and continue. All we need to do now is just create some few variables at the end. So we're going to create one called t, and we need to set it to our triangle class. We need to set it to our input sides function. We need to set it to our display sides, and we need to set it to the find area function. So you can see that I'm just creating a random variable here called t, and I've set it to our triangle class. But what I'm doing is I'm saying that it's also set to the input sides function, the display sides function, and the find area function. And we're going to do the same thing with our quad class. So here, let's set it equal to quad, in parentheses right there. Then we'll have s dot, same thing, input sides, s dot, what was next? I believe it was display sides, s dot find area. And guess what, guys? You have completed the project. So great job. Now we're done with all of the code. Let's go ahead and run the program. So it's opened the terminal window. Let's see if it works. Okay, so it's asking us to enter the first side. Let's go ahead and say 5, 6, and 4. So you can see that it has printed out all 3 sides that we've entered. So it's very organized for us to see exactly what the user has entered to the computer, and it has printed out the area of the triangle. So that's great. Now you can see that it's actually asking us to enter the next side one. So that is going to be for our quadrilateral. So go ahead and enter some 4 sides here. I'm going to make a square. So let's say I say 6, 6, 6, 6. And it is printing out our 4 sides, and it's saying that the area of the square is 24. So it used that if condition that we made earlier, and it went through and checked if all 4 of our variables are equal to each other, which they are in this case. And so it used that specific equation that we gave to find the area. So that's pretty cool. Now go ahead and try out different numbers, whichever you would like. See what different areas you can come up with. And since we just tried the square, finding the area of the square, let's go ahead. I'm going to try the rectangle. So let's go ahead and do 5, 6, 5, 6. And you can see that it says area of rectangle 30. That's great, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little project. It just took us about a few minutes to complete, but I guess it would be super helpful with your math homework from school if you ever need help calculating the area of a triangle or a rectangle. So that's all for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe to NPStation. But that's all for today. Keep reading, keep coding, and stay safe.